This video will go over what to expect in pharmacology and also some tips on how to be successful in pharmacology. So when you access your nursing pharmacology course on Canvas, you'll have different modules. So the first module you'll see will have your syllabus, a drug recognition guide, and the summer pharmacology 2020 testing information, right? So it goes over testing on campus and all that good stuff. We have a separate lecture recording in itself dedicated to the testing information, but you need to refer to the syllabus, whatever, there's where you find it. The drug recognition guide, if you open it up, a lot of medications, the different classifications have certain suffixes or prefixes that give you a clue as to what classification of medication you're talking about, and those can be very helpful when memorizing medications. So as we go through these lectures, I'll point out if they have a common ending or beginning, a suffix or prefix, that you need to be familiar with. But you also have a guide there under that first module. Next, the next module is weekly plans. This is where you will go every week to see what the assignment is, get links to the recordings, and also see what your homework is. So week one's posted, you go on, and it tells you what your readings are. Do I expect you to read the book? Yes, of course I expect you to do readings. What your readings are. The lectures that go along, I like to put how long they are so you know what you're getting into, right? You only got a couple minutes versus you got 2 hours. You know what you're getting into, whether you should click another one or call it a day. So those are your recordings. Do you need to watch the recordings? Yes, you need to watch the recordings. Pharmacology is a lot of information, and in those recordings I help to emphasize the important information of the chapters, right? So if you look at the chapter and you're overwhelmed, I highly suggest that you're watching these recordings, because that's where I'm going to be pointing out to you the important information. When I've asked students who've had to retake pharm, what did you do differently? Well, the big thing usually is that they studied, but one of the things is I really listened to your lectures. I made notes of the lectures and paid attention to what you were saying in lectures. So yeah, I do expect you to watch all the recordings. Next, you have your homework. It's listed out what you need to do, when it's due, whether it's a complete or incomplete or has a point value, right? If you need to use a Dropbox, you just got to follow the instructions. Again, all assignments must be completed whether they have a point value or not. The weekly plan will also list the discussion board instructions, and you can find those also on the discussion board itself. So if we came over here to discussions, oh, I don't think it's, oh yes it is. I'm not sure if it's going to give me access to it. Now it's locked because I'm in the student view, but you'd be able to pull that up, and the discussion board itself will have the instructions also. Under the discussion board, since we're here, there is a section for questions. I'll have to make sure that is opened. But basically, that is a discussion board where if you have any questions at all, whether it's confusion about test information, you know, what you're studying, something's not making sense, or if it's there we go, or if it's questions about something you need to do, something about this hybrid course, anything at all. If you have any questions, here's a spot where you can post your questions and I can respond to them. All right, so we did our first module. Our second module, weekly plans. Again, where you're going every week to see what the assignment is. Exam drug list. I created this because students a lot of times, you'll go through some of these chapters and there'll be like 20 types of medications listed for one classification, and students will say, I can't remember, I think you said we need to know this, but I'm not sure. So this is a reference for you as to what specific drugs you need to know for these medications or for these chapters for these tests. So again, there's a lot of medications. A lot of pharm is memorization. If you think you're going to read and listen to a lecture and take a test and do great, you're not going to. It's going to take time on your part, studying on your part, flashcards, rereading, re-listening to lectures, whatever it may be, taking notes if you're going to get these medications down, right? There's a lot of them. There are tips though for doing it. There's classifications. So you learn the classification as a whole and then learn, 2 or 3 meds that go along with it, and you got it down because you understand the classification. There are suffixes, right, that give you clues as to what type of medication you're talking about. So there are things to help you out, but it's definitely going to take time on your part if you want to be successful in pharmacology. So another thing on these lists, if the medication is bolded, that means it's a medication that could show up on the final. So when it comes time to final time and you're wondering what to study, you do get a little help out there, right? So it's not lists and lists of medications. It's narrowed down to these bolded medications for the final comprehensive exam. And then below the drug list, it starts with the week 1 module, right? And that just contains all your PowerPoints, and then any homework assignments will be listed there also. So your week 1 pharm, med, term, and labs homework assignment is listed there, and then it would have its own Dropbox for it. Pull that up. You can submit the assignment. So my big tip for how to be successful in pharmacology is that you study. There is no way for me to transport what's in my brain and into your brain, unfortunately. So you are required to do studying to be successful in this course. Yes, you need to read. Yes, you need to watch the lectures. You feel like I'm talking too fast in a lecture, you're able to play it back at a slower rate. You're listening to it for the 5th time, you're able to speed it up if you want to, use your time wisely and sort of get a quick lecture out of me. But again, those lectures are available, so you can always reference back to them also. Med cards. I've heard students say med cards really help them. So for those prototype medications, they create cards, flashcards. They take them with them when they're watching their kids' games and out and about, and they're always pulling those out and studying their medication cards or flashcards or med cards while they're out and about. Again, for each exam, you will be given a list of medications to help to remind you what are the important medications you need to know about. That's as detailed as any sort of guide you're going to get. There will be no study guides, no final study guide, no reviews prior to exams. You got your recordings you can go back to if you need to. That first module also had that drug recognition guide. That'll be helpful too as we go ahead when you need reminders as to what suffixes or prefixes are associated with which classifications of medications, because that's a way to study smart. So instead of trying to memorize a list of 10 beta blockers, you know that beta blocker is in an LOL, you know what a beta blocker does. So when you see that LOL, you know it's a beta blocker, and you can make informed decisions because you recognize the classification of the medication. I would also suggest you form study groups or share resources. Sometimes a student stumbles upon some sort of resource, whether it's like a Picmonics website or things like that, that can reinforce what we're talking about in lecture. So if you come upon things that are helpful for you when you're studying, share them with your peers. Let everybody benefit from that. And maybe you'll, in exchange, get something back, some tips that'll help you. And finally, I would recommend practice applying your knowledge. So with studying for nursing, it's learning the content first, right? Just getting the facts and the knowledge down. And then the second part is applying it by doing practice NCLEX questions and things of that sort. So using practice NCLEX questions, you do have some assigned homework assignments that will be NCLEX type questions, but I know you can find them on your own. Any sort of practice questions and looking at the rationale. So not just I got the question right, moving on to the next. Why is the right answer right? Why are the wrong answers wrong? That's all a form of studying. And then as the semester progresses, if you have any concerns, please email me so we can discuss any concerns you may have, because my goal is for you to be successful in the course. And if there's anything I can do to help with your success, I will definitely do that. But I just want to reinforce to you that a lot of your success is going to be dependent on your own time that you're putting into this course.